Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of This Week in Magic the Gathering. So today we have a pretty serious topic to talk about. It started a couple days ago after the release of Eternal Masters information from Wizards, and the internet's been abuzz now for the last couple days about the potential of some vendors perhaps having the complete set list, maybe as long ago as a month or two ago, and being able to make decisions, market decisions, based on the fact that they had insider knowledge that cards were going to be reprinted, or other cards were not going to be reprinted, such as reserve list cards. So this has been a big kind of confusing mess. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through the timeline for you, hopefully let you understand what's been going on, where this information is coming from. Then you can kind of make your own decision whether you want to believe it or not. And I'll also give you kind of my take on it as well. So let's jump in, and we'll start off by talking about the timeline, how this information kind of came about. So I'll leave descriptions in the comments below so you can take a closer look at some of these threads. But this started a little over a month ago on Reddit, and there was a user by the name of Temp Account Leak who started posting some rather interesting comments on a couple different Magic Reddits, subreddits. So basically, here's the first one. And they said, I remembered something I saw during rounds at GP Oakland. Two persons who were not players were discussing prices of certain Eternal cards, and the name Eternal Masters came up. They were discussing specifically Show and Tell, Wasteland, Zendikar Fetches, Swords to Plowshares, Lotus Petal, and Rishadan Port. Once again, this is just a rumor, but the two person I heard talking about this were not players and looked important. So, I mean, this comes out, a lot of stuff comes out on message boards you don't really take seriously. Some folks saw this and was like, okay, sure, whatever. Now, this Temp Account Leak was a brand new account at this time and kind of appeared to kind of show up out of nowhere to give this information. Now, there was very shortly after this another thread on Reddit, and we'll look at this quickly, talking about considering going into Modern, getting the Jund deck. But this, of course, was right before the banned announcements, and there was concern about if I'm going into Modern, what Modern deck should I purchase, because I don't want to buy something and it could be banned. Well, in the midst of this thread, Temp Account Leak said, it won't be. Amulet and Twin will be banned. Stoneforge will be reprinted in the Fall Eternal Master set. Now, at the time, of course, people did not really take this seriously necessarily, and just like anything, there's just wild speculation out there almost at any time that you look at message boards. So again, nobody really kind of took notice at the time. Then, as you know, shortly after this, it was revealed that Splinter Twin and not Amulet, but Summer Bloom would be banned for Modern. Now, here's the thing where people started to take notice to this account and some of the posts, just because not a lot of people saw the Splinter Twin thing coming, quite honestly. And apparently the person here overheard this information at GP Oakland. Okay, so Splinter Twin banned, they called that right. Amulet is close. I mean, is Summer Bloom obviously being a big part of the Amulet deck, but it isn't Amulet, so okay. I mean, again, take it for what it's worth. Some people felt like maybe there was some insider information going on, that at least this was overheard, perhaps by vendors or whoever at the GP, that they already knew Splinter Twin was going to go down in value, that it was going to be banned. So that's a little alarming, but at this point there wasn't really enough, I think, for people to get too concerned or too worried about it. So then, about a day ago or so now, Eternal Masters was announced from Wizards, and they announced, of course, Force of Will and Wasteland would be in that set. This is the point where people started taking this very seriously and saying that here's somebody, this individual who, whoever they are, wherever they came from, allegedly overheard this being talked about at the GP over a month ago. And yeah, they were right about Splinter Twin, maybe not 100% on Summer Bloom, but they're right on Splinter Twin, and now here's Eternal Masters, and it is basically the way that this person described it. Amongst some of this confusion, some people started to think that Eternal Masters was a name because you had Modern Masters for Modern, that Eternal was going to be a new format. That has been debunked, and that was just, I think, terms confusion more than anything. And Aaron Forsythe came out and said, no, the Eternal's not a format. I think a lot of people are thinking that Eternal might become non-reserve list Legacy. So the term Eternal basically just means that these are cards or formats that basically use cards from the length of Magic's history. So Vintage, of course, would be Eternal. Legacy would be Eternal. Stuff like that. So I think that was just a term confusion. But more importantly, when this information was released, people kind of realized, wow, there's something to this. At least somebody knew something. And how deep does this go? How far does this go? And if there's people at GPs talking about this, and if they are vendors that have insider information, are they taking advantage of the community? And where are they getting this information? Is it a leak? Is this something WotC is sharing with vendors? So those were the questions people were asking. And over the last couple of days, I think we started to get at least some of the answers. But I will tell you, a lot of this stuff is just alleged, it's allegations just being thrown around, so I'm not going to go into a lot of the details of it. I mean, obviously, if you want to take a look at it closer, you can. But let's go now, fast forward to after Eternal Masters was released. Temp Account Leak, who has been posting all along and really has been seemingly enjoying the notoriety of having this information that maybe other people didn't have, has actually been doing quite a few posts on Reddit. But this post just kind of sums up everything. I'm not going to read through the whole thing for you, but if you want to take a look at it in more detail, you can. It basically says, okay, I overheard this at the event, and unless I overhear something else, everything I know at this point. So, it kind of goes on to say, a lot of speculation about cards that could be in the set, but I don't really have that information. I thought what was interesting is down here at the bottom that this person didn't really contact WotC because they don't want to get banned, nor do they want their sources to be, and they feel that the handling of the judges and the banning of judges was not handled very well. So kind of sad, I guess, that Wizards, they really need to plug these leaks, but the way they handled the judges thing is already kind of coming back to bite them, or people don't even want to come forward with information that kind of did the opposite of what they were trying to do. So there you have it. Then we had another person, or maybe it's the same person, we don't know, open a Twitter account anonymously, and they go by the name MTG Deep Throat. Now, this person is saying that they are working with Wizards and that they are a vendor and know about this insider information, and that they feel that they want to help get the leak plugged, basically. And they've shared information with Wizards, and it's not going into detail about what exactly the information was. They said they've sent over 30 screenshots to Wizards, and they're investigating it. Now, you got to take this all information for what it's worth, coming from anonymous sources. And again, here's another individual, whether it's the same individual or not, I mean, they claim to be different individuals, that is definitely enjoying the notoriety and the internet fame. Just opening the Twitter account a couple days ago, already have almost 3,000 followers, and there's a lot of comments, much like the Reddit poster was doing, a lot of comments that were really seemingly there to just garner more attention for themselves. There's some wild allegations in these Twitter threads. Again, you guys can take a look at it. I'm not going to go in and go into all the gory details of these, just because some of them are very hefty allegations against certain vendors, and I don't think that's appropriate without proof. So there it is. Take it for what it's worth. And then we had another Twitter account. This is Zemet. This is another vendor who also has mentioned that a lot of people, with all this information coming out now, kind of freaking out, kind of worried, kind of concerned. And this person's also gone on to say that they are currently working with WotC to give any information that they have and cooperate with their investigation. So there is an investigation, and there is also a statement from Wizards. And basically, it's a short statement, but they're saying that they want to make it perfectly clear that they do not provide information like this to anybody, vendors or anybody else, which obviously some people kind of had the conspiracy theory that they give this information out. Well, of course they don't, because if you gave this information out, it would be everywhere, right? You can't control that information in this day and age. So Wizards is going on to say that they don't give this information out, and obviously this is something that, if it's true, they are investigating and they will work at correcting. All right, so this is crazy stuff. Now, from a financial impact point of view, how does this impact the market? How does this hurt or help people? Basically, look at the actual stock market. If somebody has information that's not public and they can buy and sell stocks based on that information, that's illegal. It's called insider trading, and obviously that's a way that if that wasn't illegal and people could get away with it, could make a lot of money. If you worked for maybe a company and you knew they were about to make a major announcement, a new product announcement or something, you could go buy more stock in that company or what have you, and get rich before anyone else would know that that's happening. And of course, you can go to jail for that. Now, it's not illegal in the collectible market, right? There's no laws saying that if I work for Wizards and I find out that a card's going to be reprinted, that I can't just go ahead and sell all my copies of that particular card. No, of course not, right? So as far as that portion goes, there's no laws being broken. But there is a trust, I guess, between the consumers and vendors that's being broken. And there's a couple odd things that are going on here. First off, this information from Wizards is being leaked. It is stolen information, and people could get in trouble for that in some way, shape, or form. But what's a little more interesting is there's even a rumor going out there that somebody has the entire list of the set and they're willing to sell it to other vendors for $25,000. I don't know if that's true. That just seems kind of extreme. I don't even know how you would save or make $25,000 off this information. So I don't know if I buy that one, quite honestly, but that was one of the things that was floating around out there. But more importantly, what will happen is they just have the information to know that, okay, Wasteland's going to be reprinted, for example, in the rare slot. If I know that ahead of time before the world knows that, I might lower the price of my Wastelands. I may sell them a little cheaper, try to liquidate them a little bit before the price goes down, before the market kind of crashes on them. Also, if people come up to me and they want to sell me cards, I might not be in the market to buy some Wastelands, where if I didn't have this information, maybe I would have. So that eventually kind of does hurt the consumer, and it does force you to really pay more for cards or pay less for cards, or not be able to adjust the market personally when vendors that are in the know or have this knowledge can do so. Another example of this is reserve list cards. Wizards, of course, came out in their announcement and said reserve list cards will not be in Eternal Masters. But again, if you know Eternal Masters are coming out, it's not a big leap to think, well, people might get interested in Legacy, they might get interested in Vintage, so reserve list cards may go up in value. So let me maybe buy some more reserve list cards than I would have normally. I might start raising the price of some of my reserve list cards preemptively because I know this is coming, or maybe just take them off the market temporarily until this news comes out and I know I can make more money off of them. So that's the danger in all of this. And here's the thing. At the end of the day, the bottom line is, again, this is another leak coming out from Wizards of the Coast, that's the real problem. Somebody in Wizards or a contractor, and this has been thrown out that this leak occurred during the translation or during the testing process. Allegedly, right? Maybe not. But somehow these, I guess, screenshots or captures of these cards got out to the wrong people, and now these vendors are kind of just talking amongst themselves about what's going on. So then they will make decisions based on this knowledge that they have, or this alleged knowledge. But at the end of the day, it comes back down to Wizards really needs to kind of get their act in order, and I don't know how. I'm at a loss because we live in an age where communication and information is just so easily and quickly shared and spread that I don't know what Wizards can do to try to stop this stuff from happening, but other than identifying individuals and breaking off the relationship with these individuals is really the only way. But even then they could be replaced by other people that are going to do the same thing at some point. So it's not 100%. They're never going to be able to completely clean their house, I don't think, but they're going to have to take a lot of steps and a lot of action to protect their players, and they are, and I know they are investigating it, and this hurts them, hurts their reputation just as much. There's also been a lot of the big vendors like your Channel Fireballs, your Star City Games, that have come forward and said that this is not cool and this shouldn't be going on, and they want to cooperate in any way, or if anyone has information, asking them to either come to them or go to Wizards as well. So I think the big companies are smart, and they realize that they need to distance themselves from this sort of thing. And that's the part from a business point of view that I think is a little confusing. Okay, yeah, this is ultimately, at the end of the day, Wizards' fault for allowing it to happen, and the work is going to have to be done on their end to clean it up. And I think they're doing that. They're starting that process. But these vendors need to, I think, smarten up a little bit. If I'm running a business and somebody says, hey, take a look at this. I have this information that I probably shouldn't have, and this really means something for the MTG market. Quite honestly, at this day and age, at this point, after what we saw happen with the judges and everything, I am going to clear myself away from that whole situation as much as I can. As a matter of fact, I would definitely go to WotC and say that this information's out there, whether I did it anonymously or not anonymously, some way, shape, or form. I would distance myself from this as far as I could, because I could be in a situation where Wizards cuts me off. I could be in a situation where my business is very hard to thrive and grow. I might be banned from selling at organized tournaments. Stuff like that could happen to me. So I don't want to risk my business. So if somebody showed me this, even if they were somebody that was a close friend, maybe I don't want to name their names, but at the same time, I have my business to look out for. I think the smart thing to do is to cooperate with Wizards and let them know, hey, this is going on. I need to distance myself from this whole situation and distance myself from the situation for my customers as well. Because if my name gets rolled into this, customers aren't going to want to deal with me. So this is just all bad all around. It's just not worth the risk. The few dollars I may make or save by having this information and adjusting my business accordingly isn't enough to risk losing my entire business. Even if it's a small percentage chance, it's a percentage chance that you could lose your entire business. So that's where I think there's the disconnect. Now, partially, I do think people are a little reluctant to come forward because they are worried about how Wizards has handled things in the past, and they don't want to turn in maybe friends and colleagues. But you do have to think about your business when you're in a situation like this, and you got to think about your customers and the players as well, because a lot of people are kind of on the bad end of this. And if these folks are not cooperating with Wizards and they have this information, I mean, at that point, it is human nature to make decisions based on it. Even if you're not abusing the market by going out there and buying out cards that you know aren't going to be reprinted, or selling off huge quantities of cards that you know are going to be reprinted, just the subtle day-to-day stuff of, you know what, yesterday I would have bought those Force of Wills, but today I'm not going to. You can keep those in your trade binder. That type of thing. It's small, but it's human nature, right? I think if you got the information at some point, it's going to be very hard for you to completely disregard the information, even if it's at a subconscious level. So I get that portion of it, but I do think once that information is shared, that the seller really should think about talking to Wizards and just distancing themselves from that whole situation. That's just my personal opinion on it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this whole thing, and let me know in the comments below. I'm sure more information will come, and I really hope Wizards can get a hold of where these leaks are coming from and patch them. even if it's just a new process in place to continuously be checking for leaks and checking for situations like this. Because it's one thing when cards are leaked to the public just for fun, like we saw with some of the more recent card leaks, but it's another thing when small groups of people are getting leaks and abusing the economy of the game for their own gain. That's pretty bad. So again, I'll wrap this up by saying all this stuff right now, nothing's concrete, all of it's alleged. A lot of these sources that I even showed you here, I don't know if I trust. They do feel like they're very wrapped up in their own notoriety. So I don't know if what they're saying is all completely true. It's probably not. So take everything that you're seeing at this point until Wizards comes out with another official statement for what it's worth. All of it's alleged. There's some hefty allegations out there, and I've cautioned you from condemning anybody whose name comes up in any of this until the facts come out, because I don't think that's fair. There's been a few vendors and a few businesses named, but I don't think that's fair to throw those names out there or to condemn these folks at this point. I just don't think that's right if we don't have the information and the facts. So I'm not going to do that. But be smart as a consumer, get the information. I hope at least the timeline gives you an idea of how this unfolded and what it means to Magic. So let's wrap up this with a quick Q&A. I actually only have one question. However, if you have any future questions for a future episode, please put them in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to answer them. All right, so the question for today's Q&A comes from Brian Clem, who asks, what are a few of your favorite limited cards from Oath of the Gatewatch, and is there a deck in Standard that you would like to play? So I'll talk a little bit first about Oath of the Gatewatch Limited, and these are just some cards from my experience. I've played at least a little bit now that have either performed very well or even in some cases overperformed for me, and the first one is Slip Through Space. I really like this card. It's a 1 casting cost cantrip, and it lets you get across some damage, but it also turns on surge costs. This has been a really good card that's done some work for me in Limited. Another card is Visions of Brutality. Now, it's not quite as good as, say, a Pacifism, but it is kind of a black version of Pacifism, and it has also been very good. This one's maybe less of a surprise. I think this one is pretty easy to see on paper that it's real good, but it has performed well for sure. Saddleback Lagak, other than the fact that it's really fun to say, it's also done really well for me. And you look at it, forecasting cost 3-1, okay, but the support 2 is really good, and support's a very good mechanic in Limited. I've had a lot of success with it so far, so this has been kind of a linchpin common for some of those support strategies. Speaking of support, Jiraga Auxiliary has also been very good for me. It's a quick 2/3 drop that's also an ally, but then in the late game you can just continually support, so your opponent has to deal with this kind of silly 2/3, and if they don't, you're going to pull ahead. Reflector Mage is another one. This one, again, probably not a huge surprise just because of the power level of this card. Fantastic limited card. This is also a great constructed card. Overall, this is just a really great uncommon. And the last card I picked to showcase was Cliffhaven Vampire. The white-black Vampire Lifelink ally strategy is still very, very good with the Oath packs being mixed in, and this is a great card for that deck. So if you have the pieces for that deck, it's very good, and here's a 2/4 flyer for 4 that also gains you life and drains your opponent. It just does so much, and for forecasting cost, it's very economical. So those are just a few examples. I mean, there's some others, obviously. I tried to steer away from like bomb rares or anything and try to find cards that are a little more utility cards, but these have been very good for me in Limited so far. And as far as a standard deck that I'm interested in, I always kind of like quirky offbeat decks. I mean, there's powerful decks out there like 4-color Rally and stuff, but if I were to sit down and play Standard today, I would go more for something like the red-blue Prowess deck. Like, I just think that's a kind of deck that fits more my play style. It's kind of more fun and quirky, and it's still very powerful and has done very well in some of the Star City games results over the last couple weeks. So this is a really cool deck. If you haven't had a chance, check out the deck list for this. But basically, in some ways, it almost feels like Storm Count. You're just kind of prowessing, attacking in with Storm Chaser mages. It's really interesting and cool. So that would be the one I'd probably want to sit down and play, at least at this time. That, although I will say black-white control is also kind of interesting to me because I do like black-white and control. But this one right now I think seems like the most fun, at least personally. All right, so having said that, that's the episode for this week. As always, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.
Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality videos for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a good day.